Welcome. My name is Kelly Anderson, and this is Fanimated, the animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. Today, Brynn Berryhill has joined me to discuss Danny Phantom. This television series originally aired on Nickelodeon, with new episodes being released from 2004 to 2007. It has been over a decade since the finale, but the fandom, that's fandom with a PH, is still going ghost over this phenomenal show, and we are so excited to jump right into it. So spoiler warning for those who haven't seen the series, and let's get started and let's get animated. The theme song is so good.
I was watching the 107 facts about Danny Phantom that you didn't know. Have you seen that?
Yes, yeah.
And that he had written a different one that was more based on his powers.
Right.
But they switched it because Nick wanted the backstory, which was a great idea.
Brilliant.
Nick had a great idea. I don't want to. I'll figure out his powers. It's fine. The backstory is much more important.
Yeah, and it made it so that, they didn't have to waste an episode on the backstory. You just got the backstory every episode, and it's amazing. It's just like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fair. And when you did drop into the backstory, you're like, ooh, there's more. Like, it actually became intriguing.
Yeah, you've been seeing it this whole time, and then you get it.
Right. And it makes it less important for it to be serial. Like, Danny Phantom still has a through line, but Definitely. It doesn't need to necessarily be, like, super linear.
So this is Fanimated. Brynn is here with me.
Ta-da! Danny Phantom! Oh.
We're talking about Danny Phantom, obviously, because we're just getting right into it, because we're so excited to talk about Danny Phantom.
I can't tell you, like, I loved Danny Phantom as a kid, and not a whole ton of people in Manassas loved Danny Phantom. And I was like, y'all are dumb. I love this show.
I know. I was such a Nickelodeon girl growing up. I mean, I watched Disney Channel and everything. I really wasn't into Cartoon Network stuff, but like Rugrats, SpongeBob, Avatar: The Last Airbender, I was there. But I'm going to be honest, all of those were awesome and are awesome shows, but my 10-year-old self just loved Danny Phantom so much and would watch every single new episode that came out, and it was just like Danny Phantom all the way. Like, it was probably I was such a fangirl. I still am, obviously.
In terms of the three networks, let's see if I can remember the actual channels. Cartoon Network was like 32. Nickelodeon was 31, and then you skip 2 channels, and then it was Disney Channel.
Oh, wow, you remember that.
Cartoon Network. Oh, no. Yes, I do. Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, skip, Disney Channel. And so I would like filter through those 3 like magazines that I had read a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was really that superheroes hadn't really taken root at that point.
No.
Like, we have so many superhero things now, but if I look back on it, like, my parents never specifically introduced me to superheroes. So my love of superheroes is fairly new, by like college kind of age, because I just was never introduced to it, and none of my friends were into it either, which is surprising, but whatever. But Danny Phantom is built on several superheroes and has the superhero theme and arc and everything, and kind of that teenage struggle. He's very much like Spider-Man. And as soon as I got into comic books, actually Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Because I read all of Spider-Man's comics, because it has that beautiful intertwining of learning of self that comes naturally with teenagehood, and learning of powers to amplify that self-discovery. Because when you're a teenager, you're finding out, like, who am I? What do I choose to be? What are these morals? And both with Spider-Man and Danny Phantom, that it plays in a lot with their powers and stuff. So I just
That
love
is
it.
so interesting that you say that. Because I can see that. Danny, that's one of the things I really, really love, especially going back and watching it again, that Danny slowly realizes, like he slowly learns his powers. Like he starts off first episode, he can't control any of it. And he has like falling through walls and tables on accident, and it's just all a big mess.
Puberty!
Exactly, it is. And then by the end, he's like got all these new powers, and he's like so confident in himself, and it's so fun to watch that process. And Butch Hartman, of course, was influenced by comics and superhero comics. And I mean, just the storyboards feel like a comic book, and the action
Flash and
are
Dash.
great. Yeah. And just the way things are, the action is portrayed. Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Danny Phantom is about a teenage boy named Danny Fenton. He's 14 when he walks into his parents built this
very strange machine. I hear that it was designed to view a world unseen.
That's true. I also heard that. His parents, Jack and Maddie, are ghost hunters. So they fight ghost hunt. They're always searching to prove that ghosts are real, and they hunt them. And so they built a ghost portal to try to get into the ghost realm. So Danny went in to check it out, and he accidentally pushes the on switch or whatever, and he gets infused with ghost molecules. And so now Danny is half ghost and has all the powers of a ghost when he's in his ghost form.
And all of the social awkwardness of a teenager.
Absolutely. So he throughout the series, he learns to control his abilities. He fights to save his town, city of Amity Park, and as well as the world. And his two best friends, Sam and Tucker, help him out along the way.
Oh, Sam and Tucker. I have to remember where in like the scope of the 2000s this was, because you can clearly see here's our token black kid and here's our token female friend,
right?
And like, okay, check
here's our stereotypical bully, here's our stereotypical like, you know,
right,
and like
right, and the love interest, the Mary Jane, is this Asian this girl of Asian descent who couldn't give two blinks for Danny Fenton. And I can't remember where exactly in the 2000s that became like new and like, oh, good job, you actually tried. And when it was like, wow, you should have tried a little bit harder on that, bud. And I don't know where that lies, because, things age. And they age well or they don't age well.
Right. Well, if you compare it to like, I don't know, like
Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah. I feel like it was pretty good with representation compared to its contemporaries, for sure. What else? The other thing that definitely makes me think that this is early 2000s stuff is every time there's technology in the series, like it's so outdated already. Like it really, like they have these computers with the separate webcam and like, they're
they started recording and. They started working on it in 2001, and it didn't come out until like 2003, 2004, though. So, like, that totally makes sense if it takes, like, 9 months to make an episode or something like that. But, like, still, you can tell that it was the boom of technology because of that. Looking back on it as, like, an adult, I appreciate Sam so much more now.
Really? You appreciate her more?
I realize that she might have been put in there as like an annoying, like, this is the annoying vegan, but she's not wrong on a lot of the stuff that she brings up about, like, gender norms, or caring what people think, or
Yes.
the meat industry. She actually, like, as much as she's supposed to be like kind of annoying about and Hermione Granger-ish about this, she's not wrong. She had some really good points, and like the wanting to save the planet. Here we are, speeded up 15 years in the future, and we're looking at like T minus 40 years till self-destruct. Like, I know she was supposed to be a joke, but it's not. And I think that at some points it's a little like they kind of used her standoffishness and her breaking of her standoffishness to show that, like, even people who are standoffish have a girly side, or even, people, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's a complex thought, and I'm trying to, like, chew it out. But even if they did that, sometimes I feel like they also did a decent job of, like, keeping her true to herself.
Yes, absolutely.
And like when her parents were like super frilly girly, whatever, there was one episode where she took the dress that her mom got her and she's like, so I'm going to dye this and cut it off at the knees. Okay, thanks. Because that's just who she is. And she has such a great self-awareness. She never really falters a whole ton, except when it comes to like emotions. And Danny, but even that's a pretty believable, smooth transition into their relationship, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Absolutely. I love that you compared her to Hermione Granger, because now thinking about that, I think that's so true. Like, they're very different characters, but they serve different, like, they serve similar roles in the story. Like,
Voice of reason.
Right. They're the voice of reason. They're, like, usually not wrong about things, like, and what I love about Sam is what you just said. Like, she is so firm in who she is. And Tucker and Danny are just trying so hard to, like, get in with the popular group and, like, do everything. Like, they're just, like, floundering around in high school. And Sam is the only one who's like, well, I don't care what they think. Like, she's like a millionaire and she doesn't show it because she's like, I just want to be friends with you guys because you guys are cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I really love Sam. And growing up, like, of course I was all like for Sam and Danny. Me
too.
And I still 100%. Love them together. Like, I love them together, but I'm gonna be honest, rewatching it as an adult, I like Valerie. Like, I would have not been mad if Valerie and Danny ended up together. I like them. I think it is.
Dear podcast audience, you do not have the privilege of seeing the slack-jawed look that I have been giving Kelly since she said Valerie. I don't think you could quite appreciate how much of a slack-jawed.
Let me defend myself.
Okay.
Sam is, like, put into the story to, eventually end game be with Danny. That's the point. So, of course, you're rooting for them the whole time. And I still love them. They're great. But counterpoint, by the end of the show, Valerie has lost everything to ghosts. She thinks it's all the ghost's fault that she is broke. She lost all of her friends, all these things, and she becomes a ghost hunter. And she is like the coolest, like, most BA ghost hunter. And I love that about her. Okay. And then she actually likes Danny Fenton, and of course hates Danny Phantom. And I just love that plot line of, like, I'm dating this boy who is also the ghost that I absolutely despise and want to destroy. Like, I don't know. It's just a good story.
Miraculous.
All right. What are your thoughts on Valerie?
No, I agree with you. I was thinking of I'm bad with names. Even if I've binged something, I can walk away not knowing the main character's name. What's the girl? I'm too good for you, girl.
Oh,
What's her bucket?
Paulina.
Paulina. I thought you were saying Paulina for some reason.
Oh,
No.
no,
Paulina can go jump in a river. No. Because yeah, Valerie, I could definitely see that because when they work together, they have a good working relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much more dynamic. Like instead of being Lois Lane, it would be Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to that, actually.
And like there's one episode when they're stuck together, like as Danny Phantom and as the ghost hunter, and they actually have to work together. And it's like one of the best episodes because they like work together really well, but like she won't get over her own like bias towards ghosts to like ever move past it.
With Sam and Danny, what I really appreciate is that it was a romance, but it wasn't marketed as a romance, right?
Right.
So like in one of the recent shows that I watched, they it's like the last season, and these two people suddenly profess love to the point of marriage to each other, and they have this big romantic scene, and they're like all lovey-dovey, and then nothing. For 3 episodes, there was no sign of any sort of romantic connection whatsoever, almost. You know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Voltron.
I complained very loudly about this.
Yeah, you can hear all about it in all of our Voltron episodes. Go listen to them.
Then it came up again a little bit later for foreshadowing, probably. But anyway, I didn't like that inconsistency. I was very loud about it on that episode. But the thing is, with Danny and Sam, they didn't go hard and then like ease off the brakes and then go hard and ease off the brakes and use it as they didn't use it as a plot thing. They used their deep connection, their consistent deep connection and growing deep connection to each other to show that concern while still working as allies and still working as like partners. Right. And I thought that the way that they did that with that beautiful little 2-kiss payoff on the last episodes was so beautifully done.
I agree. And it really is that Danny and Sam are best friends throughout the whole series. And they continue to just deepen their relationship, and, you know, they get into fights sometimes, and like they get through everything together, and it's like a slower build, and it's just so sweet. So another character I really, really, well, I have so many characters I really, really love, but speaking of the fantabulous ladies in this show, I want to talk about Jazz. Jazz is Danny's older sister, and she's in high school too, and she is literally the best. Like, speaking, like, she's almost like his third parental figure, because his parents are so crazy and so like
single-minded and focused.
Yes, like they are ghost hunters, or hunting ghosts, and they're kind and they're loving parents. They're great, but like Jazz is the only one who's like, but what's best for Danny? You know, like, and just like an older sister would, like, it's maybe a little too doting, maybe a little too, like, you know, a teenager doesn't want their sister to tag along all the time or whatever.
Right.
But what I love about this show, and I'm getting so hyped up because I love how this is done. In the first season, Jazz finds out that Danny is actually Danny Phantom. Like, it's the whole, it's that typical superhero, like, 2 identity thing that you can't share with anyone. And up until then, it's just him and Sam and Tucker that know about the secret. And she finds out on accident. Jazz finds out. And you know what she does? You know what she does? She doesn't run.
Says nothing.
She says nothing. She doesn't run up to him. She doesn't, like, tell him that she knows. She says, you know what? I'm going to let him come to me on his own time when he's ready to tell me.
So good.
And so for a while, he doesn't know that she knows. And so, but she's still helping him in the background. Like she gets it. And so when awkward situations arise or something, she like gets him in out or like supports him in the background. Without him having to know that she knows. And it's so beautiful that when he does finally like come to her and when she does finally get to fully join the team of Danny Phantom and like, just like what show does it like that? It's phenomenal.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen before in a superhero like trope. And I'm sure, comment on the video and like send us tweets that say Brit is completely 100% wrong on this. But like, I don't know of another superhero story that has very specifically like a family member who knows and who gets them out of tough situations without telling the person that they know. Like that is such an act of trust and love. That is such an act of maturity, which is a theme with Jazz, is that she's mature. That poor girl has had to mature so quickly because her dad's an idiot. Her mom's cleaning up the idiot. Oh, we'll get to her. That poor woman. His poor mother. I can't even, but that's beside the point. We will even because we'll talk about it later. But his mother is constantly cleaning up his father. And so there's, and being dragged on these ghost hunter things as well, getting swept into his like, mania is probably a strong word, but like his excitement as well. So Jazz really kind of is the older sister, momish aunt, probably more like an aunt. Jazz is probably more like a very closely aged aunt.
I mean, she's just a really good big sister.
Yeah. I really love her.
She is. She's so mature. And like, I really do think like Sam and her are like gonna be best buds. Like
they ground everyone around them.
Yes. Like Sam and Jazz are so mature. And I hear a lot of feedback that Danny Phantom like maybe isn't the most like feminist show out there or anything. And it definitely has its moments where it's not. But I would argue that exactly. But I would argue like growing up with Jazz and Sam and Valerie, like I'm very grateful for that. And I love those characters so much.
Well, and oftentimes when women are portrayed, they're portrayed as, oh, I don't know, very wishy-washy or insecure. And it's a part of their character like makeup that they are so insecure. And so I think that you're right, that when they put in their female characters, they nailed them to the ground and made them roots,
Right.
Which I don't think is a super bad thing. I think that the way that Vlad treated Danny's mom is despicable and needs to be really looked at in a really harsh light, because that is the hardest part of this entire series, was the way that they treated his mom, and she did not deserve that. I do think that they messed up on her character, and I think they messed up on the way that she just kept taking this abuse from the men in her life, from Jack and from Vlad. Yes. It was despicable.
So let's just talk about Vlad really quick so you know who we're talking about. Vlad, and I would argue I did like him as a villain, and I'll tell you why later, but let's talk about him. So Vlad Masters, or Vlad Plasmius, is a college friend of Jack and Maddie, and he, you find out, surprisingly, also got turned into half ghost by
Jack.
So Jack, turned his son half ghost. It also turned his best friend half ghost. And oops, because he's an idiot, like we said. And Vlad uses his power. Danny uses his for good and protecting the people of Amity Park. And Vlad uses his powers to gain wealth and gain power and old white male. And
Classic.
And basically, he spends the entire series trying to woo Maddie away from Jack.
Mm.
That's basically it. And also trying to get like Danny on his side because he wants all the things that Jack has, and he never got, like, you know, a family and, you know, whatever.
It is such the mentality of women can be bought, women can be earned. That whole mentality in a video game that women can be you can level up enough to earn a woman. But like in so many video games, it is the woman that you get at the end, or in so many TV series or movies or things like that.
It's a common thread.
It's a common thread, and it's something that is acted out in society, which is the most annoying part. But so in Danny Phantom, typically the heroes do not get that, and I don't remember if there were a couple of episodes where they got a date to like prom or some social thing, and by the end of the episode they had won a date, but it never worked out long term, which I think is super important. That they, like, if you end a movie or a video game on it, it's assumed that everything worked out, because they ended on a high note. But in a TV series, it's even more important to see that not continue to work out. And while I would love for that to never happen, it happened, and I wasn't particularly like fond of it or frustrated with it personally. But with Vlad, I would say it is age inappropriate, because it is obsessive. It is it crosses boundaries. It crosses so many lines that are so disturbing once you actually look at it. It's awful. And the way that it was made makes me feel like the producers and the writers didn't give it the weight that it has. I don't think they really felt that it was as creepy as I know it to be, you know?
Oh no, absolutely not. It definitely is it's like played for laughs. It's like this evil villain. And it's like his one defining trait. And by the end, he gives up and he just is like, fine, I'm going to destroy all of you. Like, but it's very like entitled. He feels like he's entitled to have Maddie. And it's like, that's not how it works, dude. Like,
and it's never addressed enough.
No. And Maddie is just as bad because she like shoo it away, but like,
I wouldn't say that that's bad for her. I think that that's a learned response. And the fact that they show a strong female, what's supposed to be a strong female character, doing the socially taught response of not confronting it is even more infuriating. Here is this strong scientific woman who is the top of her game, and they are not showing women or young girls to shut that down. Oh,
right. I will say one of my absolute favorite episodes is Maternal Instinct. I forget which season it is, but that is when Maddie and Danny are caught in one of Vlad's schemes to have them stay with him. And so they're like out in the woods or whatever. And Danny is thinking, oh man, I have to like get rid of Vlad somehow and everything. But then Maddie's the one who like kicks his butt, and Danny doesn't even have to like turn ghost at all. Like he just like lets his mom take care of business. And I do really like that episode when she actually like, you know, is giving Vlad a piece of her mind. But she's very like leading up, and usually to start out, she's very polite about it. She's like, no, we're gonna go. You know what I mean?
Right, which is the socially taught way to respond to creepy men, which I personally, as a woman, have a problem with. If they could do it again, I would love to have seen somebody shut that down and for him to have real consequences that were tied to the fact that he was being overly obsessive. Like,
oh, for sure.
I would have loved to see a restraining order with the addition of, that was not appropriate. You needed to have stopped, and you didn't. So you're not allowed to come near me or my family because you're crazy. But it was disturbing how much it didn't land with the creators. That's all.
Right.
That's not all. That's a lot, but still.
That's a lot, yeah. So I will say I want to talk about Vlad a little bit more because I actually like him a lot as a villain, and at least like I guess what I like about him is the fact that he is exactly the mentor that Danny needs, except that he's not. Because Vlad is the only one who is going through this ghost puberty, as you were saying, that has been through this and knows exactly what Danny is going through. But he can't help him because he's a whack job.
Oh God, that's awful.
Because this whole show is Danny, coming of age and trying to figure out these powers, and here's a man who has been through this already, who knows how to get there, who knows so many more things on to teach him so much, and and Vlad even uses that as a leverage, but he's not the kind he can't give it to him, Danny, freely. He needs something in return, and it's kind of just sad.
If I were to cut out all of the misogynistic stuff that was happening that I was ranting about before, and we're just going to ignore the fact that he's a stalker, then oh my gosh, great idea for a villain. Great drive for Danny to want so much to trust him and to want so much to connect with him, just to not be able to again and again and again, because Vlad goes after him several times, and Danny has to say no each and every time. I think that's great. You're right.
Yeah, it's a very Harry Snape dilemma.
Yeah. Well, and I have problems with that whole thing anyways, but that's beside the point. Snape was praised for also being creepy, and Dumbledore used his love of someone who he wasn't going to be able to have in order to do his bidding. But that's beside the point.
That's for a different podcast.
As soon as they make an animated series, we can go straight into that. But
we can talk about Potter Puppet House. Yeah, we'll get there.
Fair. Naked time. Moving on. So
anyway, that is why I like Vlad. That is that tension is the tension that I like. I don't care for his obsession with Maddie, but I do find it fascinating that Vlad is half ghost, half human. And because of that, he isn't just another ghost that Danny is defeating. It's like, this is another person. Yeah. And this is another, it feels much more complex. And especially watching it as a kid, Vlad, it doesn't matter what other weird people Danny was fighting, Vlad is the ultimate arch rival, nemesis. And it's a ride.
I thought it was so interesting on the finale when Vlad made such a human mistake with the crater.
Yeah.
With the asteroid. It just hit me now because I watched it earlier today. Haha. But he made such a human mistake. He made the human mistake of hubris, of course, and believing that he could do something without testing it first.
Right.
And then he got his comeuppance, which was very satisfying. But he was on such a power trip and so full tilt, head forward, trying to defeat Danny and gain his power and what he wanted, that he just blew it.
Yeah.
I found that to be a really good ending. because there are lots of ways that they could have ended it. They could have ended it with the hyper masculine like showdown where Danny finally defeats the Vlad. They could have done it that, you know, all of these ghosts had to team together to take down Vlad and do something and blah blah blah. But they chose instead for Vlad to fail and then to get him out of the way so that the solution could come up differently. And I really appreciated that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Fanimated listeners. I just wanted to take a quick break from my awesome conversation with Brynn to just say thank you. Fanimated is nearing its first anniversary or birthday or however you count years in existence of podcasts. And we are celebrating by having a new episode every week in the month of September. Not only that, but Patreon supporters who donate $1 or more a month in September will get a special Fanimated decal sticker. So check that out at patreon.com/Fanimated. All right, that's it. That's all. I just wanted to make that mentioned. So, you know, happy birthday, and we look forward to talking to you a whole bunch next month, starting with probably the best animated film of 2018. So, talk to you next week, and also, like, right now. So, let's get back to my conversation with Brynn.
So, another small character that I really like and just want to touch on, Mr. Lancer. Mr. Lancer is their English teacher, and he's the typical teacher character that shows up and tries to lead them in the proper direction and oftentimes fails. But he has a good heart, and I appreciate him so much at watching it now as an adult. Like, he is hilarious. He is just as funny as everything else, because every time he has an expletive, like, he will just shout random novel titles. Like, he will just be like, Moby Dick, Oliver Twist, or like whatever. It's so good. And it's something that totally went over my head as a child. So
yeah,
that's just hilarious. Thank you, Mr. Lancer.
I will say, when I go on a podcast and I'm like, hey, I usually make a Facebook page to my friends saying, like, did I miss something here? Is there a perspective that I don't have that maybe you have on the show? And so one of the people said, like, they're couples ? So it was like Sam and Danny ? Danny and Val ? And Danny and Tucker ? And I had to tell them, okay, I agree with, and they had a lot of other sentiments that we've already been over. And I was like, I agree with everything except the Danny and Tucker. Not because I don't want a queer couple, because I really do, but they would get less than nothing done on a daily basis if they were actually a couple. Like, if both of them were bi or gay, I could totally see them being together. Like, they're very good friends, and I could see them wanting that to work, but they would get less than nothing done. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I don't see them as a very good couple.
They would like to be, but they wouldn't. Just saying.
Yeah, I would agree. So who is your favorite ghost besides Danny or Vlad?
I am the box ghost. In every episode that they can fit him in as this, like, last thought fly swat. Like, I love the box ghost so much.
I'm the box ghost.
So I worked for Adventures in Cardboard over the summer.
Yeah, so, you're even more of a box ghost. You work with cardboard boxes constantly.
Actually, we had a haunted house themed week where my character died and became a ghost. So yeah, I am the box ghost.
I love it. Wow, you are the box ghost, Brynn.
Woo!
It's just
what about you?
It's one of those jokes that never gets old. Like, like he could show up at any point in the series and just be like, "Fear me," and I'll be like, "I love you."
I 100% agree. Like, I don't know if they could have put him into every single episode, but I don't think I'd be mad. It's kind of like the Wilhelm scream at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you look for the Wilhelm scream wherever you go, or you listen for it.
Yes. I love so many of the ghosts Danny-fy, and like there's also interesting, like Skulker is cool, the like pirate kid. But I think if I was going to choose a favorite, it would be Ember McLean. And she is a ghost rock star, and she, of course, like many musicians do, hypnotizes everyone that listens to her music. So
Gain more power because they're listening to her.
Exactly. And I honestly could probably just boil it all down to the fact that I like her song. She has hypnotized me too, and I will listen to it forever.
I have the opposite reaction. I
Great.
love her aesthetic. I love her power. I love the way that she uses it. Like, the fact that the second episode she comes in, she gets the adults with like this soft jazz version of her song.
Yeah.
And I was at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, wait, that's okay. Well done. Clever. But that song, I think there needed to be a little bit more to it for it not to become an earworm for me.
That's true. It's kind of repetitive.
It got to be real annoying real quick. So if they had backed off of the chorus so much and just left it as instrumental, like,
right,
very like suggestive of the song instead of playing the song over and over, I think I would have liked her song more.
Yeah.
But by the end of the episode, I'm like, get it out.
Valid. Also Danny with an I, because, okay, so Vlad has this brilliant idea. He's like, well, I can't get Danny to like be my surrogate son, so I'll just make my own child, ghost child. So he like takes Danny Fenton's actual DNA and like creates his own version of like a clone, kind of, but not really. And her name is Danny with an I, and she's like 10 years old, and she is basically exactly like Danny and like has half ghost powers, except that her personality is like more interesting. And
because she's not the leading male protagonist, you mean? Which instantly makes her more interesting.
Yes, it does. And she just like, her whole desires and wants out of life is just to keep living. Like, her constant motivation is just to continue to be alive, because there are all these things that keep making her not be alive. Like, she keeps falling apart, or like someone's after her or whatever. And you know, she originally is very loyal to Vlad, but then changes her mind getting to know the actual Danny. And so, and because me as another 10-year-old girl was like, yay, I want to be like Danny with an I, you know, like, it was nice.
I saw also, because I was YouTubing and stuff, or watching YouTube, and I saw that the creator had made a couple, actually he's made quite a few of what would Danny Phantom look like.
Yes.
Season 4, 10 years in the future. And Danny with an I was in the second episode, living out life and chilling. I think that he's super clever in making those videos. A, in keeping the fandom alive, because man, those fanfics, I'm sure. B, in like giving people false hope.
I know. Butch Hartman keeps saying, like, I'd love to do more, like, I'd love to continue the story, but Nickelodeon owns the rights, so I can't do anything about it. And it's true.
And that sucks.
Unless Nickelodeon says yes. But hey, you know what? Like, I don't know how, but they're doing like a live action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Like, so how?
In Netflix.
On Netflix, right? But so, like, how can you get Nickelodeon to give up the rights to Danny Phantom? Because I'm telling you, like, in this world of remakes and nostalgia, like, there is such a big Danny Phantom fan base out there. Like, it would be so profitable for them to do something with the franchise.
I'd be a little worried that they would turn it into something like the Charmed and Sabrina remakes, where they take a very child-friendly show and then they kind of drive it into the darkness, which has worked. And they did it with Riverdale, they did it with Charmed, and they're doing it, or they did it with Sabrina and they're doing it with Charmed. I'm not saying those are bad shows, but I would not want to see this show that had the classic 2000s wah, 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 sound effects in the background,
right,
being turned into that, because it's already oversaturated in the market anyways.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that. It would be too easy to do that. I want to see a really good, in-depth Danny Phantom live action that is true to the show. They keep doing these things that are not true to the show, like that non-existent Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, live action movie that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
That didn't happen, that nobody acknowledges, because they didn't stay true to the show. Could you please just give the nerds what they want? Not what you think that they want, because you're not a nerd because you don't understand us. The actual thing that we want, and we just want it to be real. That's all. Like, look, something good happens when you actually follow the source material. You should stay there. I just, I don't want that to happen to my dear Danny Phantom.
What do you think it is about Danny Phantom that has created such a big fan base? Because it only ran for 3 seasons. It, look at Butch Hartman's other shows, like Fairly Odd Parents. Like, it's been running forever. And, like, but this is the one that I feel like has the biggest fan base. Why do you think that is?
A good combination of humor, lightheartedness, depth, and just enough story base, and just enough follow through. A really good combination of those 4 things, and being super relatable, especially for the time.
Yes.
It had the lighthearted fantasticalness of the Fairly Odd Parents, but it didn't. But it had a lot more depth to it than that.
I would agree. And like Danny was a high schooler. Like, he was in high school. They did a good job of, exploring like what it feels like. And it's to a very exaggerated degree, but it's just so powerful. And these characters are so, like, you just connect to them so easily. And their plights, and you can, even now, like, when I was originally watching it, I had no clue what high school was like, but I still, like, connected to it, and now I remember what high school is like watching it, and I'm like, it's just, sometimes it's just like that. And again, like, the biggest thing rewatching it was like, wow, the show clearly is following Danny and his growth. It's about it's like, it's more of a character exploration than anything.
Yeah.
It definitely there's a ton of plot going on, but I loved watching from the very first episode, Danny not being able to control his powers at all, Sam and Tucker being terrified of every ghost they see, and then suddenly by the end of the series, like, you just get to walk along with them in this journey of growth and, like, discovery, and, like, Tucker gets jealous of his powers, or Sam is left out of something, or Danny, like, even learning how to shoot one of those, like, ghost ray things, or all the way until learning how to do his big ghostly whale power. Like, all of those little stepping stone moments are just so, like, you just feel so good about them. Like, they did a really good job of building the characters' abilities and building the stakes along with it, and you really feel like you're on that journey, and you are leveling up with them, and, like, you get that satisfaction of, like, every win really feels like it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is why I think Vlad is such a good villain too, because suddenly he comes along and it's like, dude, you cannot handle this by yourself. Like, he's winning fights. He's, fitting all those ghosts in his Fenton thermos. And then Vlad comes along and you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much more that he doesn't know. And he is no match at that point.
You thought Pluto was a big planet. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, exactly. Here's Jupiter.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Anyway, so I just want to reiterate that. But yeah, there is quite the fan base for Danny Phantom, and I really hope they're able to do something more to give us more of Danny Phantom.
Thinking back on it now, and now that I say that it's baby's first superhero, it really did feed that unawoken superhero nerd in me before I knew what superheroes were or what that genre was. And I remember watching it and just having a sense of yes for it. And I really appreciated it. And I'm really glad for it.
One last thought about Danny Phantom is just watching it now. I still get the excitement of watching it as a child, and and just that tension between Danny, having this power, feeling like he can't talk to anyone about it. His parents are literally against him, and he feels, they see ghosts everywhere except for in their own son. And he feels like he can't talk to them. And just that excitement of every time you think, oh no, his secret identity is going to be revealed. And then when it does, it's his parents are just so proud of him, and they're so it's just so beautiful. I love this show.
Well, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're not done yet. Girl, hold your horses.
Oh, that's right. What you've
Brynn, what do I do at the end of every podcast?
No, you're right. I don't.
What have you been watching, Brynn?
I just finished binging the Titans live action show, which, is kind of animated. It's from animated stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's much darker. A lot of unnecessary blood splatters that are kind of funny. The characters are very different from their animated characters. So if you're looking for the Teen Titans kind of feel, don't go watch it. Just it's fine. Don't do it. And I heard that Journey has a new game out for iOS, not for Android yet. I'm so frustrated. It's called Sky, I want to say. I'll have to look it up. But it is for iOS, and it's very reminiscent of Journey in gameplay. But there's a lot more character interaction with other people.
Oh, cool.
James has been playing it, and he's been playing it a lot. So
oh man, I'll have to check that out.
I'm trying to think of what else I've been up to and watching. Oh, She-Ra. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a Steven Universe morning cartoon group, and somebody hasn't been able to come, so we started watching She-Ra instead of Steven Universe.
Yeah.
And I love She-Ra so much. The entire series is worth it for Entrapta. The entire series is
that is saying a lot.
For my baby chaotic neutral princess, who is the only true chaotic neutral character that I have seen in modern times. Oh, my baby. Okay.
She is pretty interesting.
And it keeps getting more queer and having great queer representation, and having just great in-depth, feelingsy things. All right. So what have you been watching?
Well, I feel like I say the same, two things every time.
Tangled?
Well, yeah. Well, if season 3 would ever come out. No, I've just keeping on with Fruits Basket. We still have a few more weeks left of that, and it's amazing, and I'm going to cry when we get to the end of the season because I know what's coming. We all do, and I don't think I'm ready for it. I have been playing Moonlighter on the Switch. And it feels kind of like Zelda. You go fight things and it's great. But then during the day, you like sell all of the like items and things that the monsters drop. And so you're like, it's like you get into this constant cycle of like, you're like, have your little shop and you have to like upkeep your shop. And then at night you go and like fight monsters and it's like, oh, it's time to open your shop again. And so you kind of get into a cycle. I say it's probably not my favorite game in the whole wide world, but I don't know. It passes time and the animation's super cute. It's just cute. I really want to be playing Fire Emblem right now, 3 Houses, because that's all I hear about on the internet. But this girl ain't got $50-$60 to spend. No way.
Right. What consoles is it on?
I think it's just the Switch.
Okay. So, you have a Switch though, right?
Yeah.
It's
the only thing I have. That's the only way I play video games.
What have you called your Switch?
Do I have to have a name for my Switch? Is that a requirement?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a thing.
I don't have it named it.
I've claimed joint custody over James's Switch, which he has named Pythagoras because of a show on Japanese television that goes Pythagoras Suichi. So we call him Pythagoras. But yeah, you should get on that.
Yeah, I should get on that.
Usually the name comes to you, but you have to be like open to the name coming.
Okay, I will be listening for the name of my Switch. I will be waiting for it to tell me what its name is.
Perfect. I expect it soon.
We'll figure it out together. All right, Brynn, thank you so much for talking with me about Danny Phantom.
Thank you for having me on. I love talking about Danny Phantom.
Great. Well, oh shoot, I forgot.
What?
Rewind. Brynn, really quick, what are your thoughts on the Steven Universe movie trailer?
Dear at-home audience, you don't hear, but you don't see, but you might be able to hear my forehead being knocked against the laptop. So many things. So I'm really excited to see how this new gem that has the super old animation squiggly spaghetti arms animation is tied to Pink, because it has to be tied to Pink.
Yes.
Because she is Pink.
Yes.
Period. And going after Steven and stuff. And I'm really excited for the time jump. Like, yes. I cannot wait to see how relationships have developed with a time jump in it. And knowing these people, they have not done wrong by us. And there are so many things that I have been hoping for the time jump to like clear up and to help give some closure to. I'm really hoping Lapis has come a little bit farther in her healing from PTSD. I really want to see how Lapis and Peridot have continued along. I really want to see how Steven and Connie have progressed in their fighting. I'm very worried that Steven wants things to remain the same, because that is everything that Pink and Rose have ever been against ever. And so, like, because he says, I wish everything would stay the same. And that is the entire reason that he was created, was because things don't. Have you had time to think about it?
The time jump makes me so happy. I can't even.
Mm-hmm.
He has matured so much. Like,
and he has a neck.
He's a neck. It's been like a constant joke in the Steven Universe fandom and with the Crooniverse themselves that it's Steven has no neck, and now he has a neck. Everybody, this is the real news.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so excited to just see what Steven is like now. And I just wholeheartedly want more music. Like, I can't wait. to hear what songs are coming. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm also like really hoping that we get like another like show or series announcement or something to come with the airing of this movie, because I mean, I just don't want it to end for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm nervous about, is that this is going to be the it. But like, honestly, I would understand, because like the last season finale was such a satisfying ending,
Right.
and this is a natural conclusion if it's a time jump. Like, you end on a movie. That's pretty classic. Like, I wouldn't be, I'd be upset. I would be devastated, but I wouldn't be mad at them.
Right. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Brynn.
Thanks for having me. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. You can support the technical costs of the show and get an awesome decal sticker in September 2019 by going to patreon.com/Fanimated. Let us know your thoughts on Danny Phantom and our other favorite animated media on Facebook, Instagram at Fanimated Podcast. You can also email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. The art for this podcast is done by me. You can find me on Instagram at CandorDraw. The music is provided by Purple Planet Music, and a huge thank you to Brynn for joining me today. We will talk at you next week as we take a leap of faith into the biggest animated film of 2018. But in the meantime, stay tuned and stay animated.
Gotta catch a ball 'cause he's Danny Phantom. Gotta catch a ball 'cause he's Danny Phantom.
Phantom.